In the last 3 classes, we mapped the banking exam landscape, figured out which exam suits you, and saw how prelims and mains differ. Now, we get into something that surprises almost every beginner. In banking prelims, knowing the answers is only half the battle. The other half, NIT to fight, often the deciding half, NIT to fight, is how you handle two ruthless mechanics of the exam: negative marking and sectional timing. Here is the reality. Two candidates can have exactly the same knowledge, sit the same paper, and walk out with very different scores and 800 because one played the exam strategically and the other just answered questions. The banking prelim is a game with rules that reward strategy as much as knowledge. Every wrong answer carries a penalty, so reckless guessing quietly drains your score. Each section has its own clock, so you cannot drop time from an easy section to rescue a hard one. And your final score is essentially your number of attempts multiplied by your accuracy minus the cost of your mistakes. Today you will learn the math of the penalty, the accuracy floor below which guessing hurts you, how sectional timing changes everything, and exactly when to guess and when to walk away. Master this, and you will outscore people who know more than you. Let us learn to play the game. Here is our path for today. First, why the exam is a strategy game. Second, the 0.25 penalty. Third, the accuracy floor. Fourth, sectional timing. Fifth, when to guess. And sixth, when to leave a question. Let us dive in. Let us begin with the mindset shift that everything else depends on, because it is the thing beginners get wrong. Your score in a banking prelim is not simply the number of questions you know. It is governed by a formula. Your score equals your right answers minus a penalty of a quarter mark for every wrong answer. That little minus sign changes the whole game. It means that answering is not free, and 200 off every question you attempt is a bet, with a reward if you are right and a cost if you are wrong. Your job is not just to know things, it is to manage that betting well. Consider two candidates with roughly the same knowledge. The first answers everything, guessing freely whenever unsure, confident that attempting more must mean scoring more. But each wrong guess bleeds a quarter mark, and those losses pile up until they have cancelled out a big chunk of the questions they actually knew. Their reckless attempting has actively lowered their score. The second candidate, with the same knowledge, plays it smart. They answer what they are confident about, guess only when the odds are in their favor, and calmly skip the questions that are pure gambles. They attempt fewer questions and A2 112, but almost everything they attempt is right, so they lose very little to the penalty, and they score noticeably higher than the first candidate, despite knowing no more. That gap between two equally knowledgeable people is created entirely by strategy. This is the core truth of banking prelims. Within a wide range, how you play the people matters as much as what you know. So, from here on, we think like a strategist, not just a student. So the takeaway, your prelim score is right answers minus a quarter mark penalty per wrong answer, which makes every attempt a bet and A200 world. So two candidates with the same knowledge can score very differently. One bleeding marks through reckless guessing and the other scoring higher through smart, selective attempting. Strategy matters as much as knowledge. Let us look closely at the penalty itself, because understanding its exact maths is what makes every later decision clear. The reward side is simple. A correct answer earns you 1 full mark. That is the good news. And it is what you are playing for. Every question you get right adds a clean +1 to your score. The cost side is where people underestimate the danger. A wrong answer does not just earn you 0 and A212, it costs you a quarter of a mark, minus 0.25. This is negative marking. It is deducted from your total, so a wrong answer actively pulls your score down, not merely fails to raise it. Getting a question wrong is strictly worse than leaving it blank, because blank costs nothing, while wrong costs you a quarter mark. Now put those together and the crucial ratio appears. Because each wrong answer costs a quarter mark, 4 wrong answers cost 1 full mark, and a 212 fall, exactly cancelling one of your correct answers. Think about what that means. If you guess wildly on 8 questions and get, say, 2 right and 6 wrong, the 6 wrong answers cost you 1.5 marks, nearly wiping out the 2 marks you gained. Wrong answers are not harmless zeros. They are little subtractions that quietly erase the hard-won marks from questions you actually knew. Once you truly feel that N-A-212, that every 4 careless mistakes delete a whole correct answer, and A-212, you start treating each attempt with the respect it deserves. So the takeaway, a right answer earns a full mark, but a wrong answer costs a quarter mark that is subtracted from your total, making a wrong answer strictly worse than a blank and $100. And because 4 wrong answers cost 1 full mark. Careless guessing quietly erases the marks you earn from questions you actually knew. This penalty leads to one of the most important numbers in your whole strategy, the accuracy floor, the point below which guessing actively hurts you. Let us work out the maths, because it is beautifully clear. Banking questions typically have 5 options, so a completely blind guess an A212, where you have no idea and pick at random A212 has about a 1 in 5 chance of being right. On average, out of every 5 blind guesses, 1 will be correct and 4 will be wrong. That is just probability over many random guesses. That is what happens. Now apply the marking. Out of 5 blind guesses, the 1 correct answer earns you plus 1 mark. The 4 wrong answers cost you a quarter mark each, which is 4 times minus 0.25, equaling minus 1 mark. Add them up, plus 1 minus 1 equals 0. On average, 5 blind guesses net you exactly nothing. The reward from the occasional lucky hit is precisely cancelled by the penalty from the misses. Blind guessing, mathematically, is a break-even activity at best and 8 to 12, and any run of bad luck pushes it into negative territory. This gives you your accuracy floor. Guessing only becomes worthwhile when your accuracy is better than random and 0.8212, when you can do better than 1 in 5. Because you have some knowledge that tips the odds. If you can eliminate a couple of options, your chance of being right jumps well above the break-even point, and now guessing clearly pays. But pure, blind, no information guessing sits right at 0 expected value, which means it adds risk with no expected reward. The rule that falls out of this is precise. Never guess blindly, but do guess once you have information that lifts you above the floor. That single number, and A212. Break even at random, positive above it, and A212 guides every guessing decision you will make. So the takeaway, with 5 options and a quarter mark penalty, blind guessing averages exactly 0, and 80-20, 1 right earns plus 1, 4 wrong cost minus 1, and 80-20, so it is break even at best. Guessing only pays once your accuracy rises above that random floor, which happens the moment you can eliminate options and tip the odds in your favor. The second great mechanic, alongside negative marking, is sectional timing and A212, and it reshapes how you must manage the clock. In many banking prelims, the paper is divided into sections and A200 taulo, typically reasoning, quantitative aptitude, and English and A200 taulo. And here is the crucial rule. Each section has its own separate timer. You get a fixed number of minutes for reasoning, then that section closes and the timer for quant begins, and so on. The sections are run one after another, each in its own sealed window of time. The consequence is strict, and it catches people out. You cannot borrow time between sections. If you finish English early, those spare minutes do not flow back to help you with the quant you struggled on, and A212, that section is already closed. And if you get stuck and burn too long in reasoning, you cannot dip into the quant time to recover. When the reasoning timer ends, you are moved on whether you are ready or not. Each section stands alone with its own hard time limit. This changes your pacing completely. Under a single overall timer, you could rush the easy parts to buy time for the hard ones. With sectional timing, you must manage each section independently and A212, pacing yourself within reasoning to attempt the best questions there, then resetting and pacing yourself within quant and again within English. A weak section cannot be rescued by a strong one. You have to score what you can inside each window. This makes per section strategy essential. You decide for each section how many questions to attempt and which to skip. based only on the time that section gives you. Respect each clock as its own contest, and you will never be blindsided by a timer running out with your best questions unanswered. So the takeaway, many banking prelims give each section its own separate timer that runs one after another. And crucially, you cannot borrow time between sections, and 80 swantaye, spare time in one does not rescue another and 80 swantaye, so you must pace and strategize within each section independently, treating every section as its own time contest. Now let us turn the accuracy flaw maths into a concrete, in-the-moment decision. When should you actually guess? The answer hinges entirely on whether you have information that lifts you above the floor. Here is the situation where guessing is right. You read a question, and while you do not know the answer outright, you can confidently eliminate 2 or 3 of the options as clearly wrong. Now, you are choosing between just 2 options instead of 5 and 8200, a 50-50 shot or better. At those odds, the reward of being right far outweighs the quarter-mark penalty of being wrong. So guessing has a clearly positive expected value. This is the educated guess, and you should absolutely take it. Elimination is what turns a bad bet into a good one. And here is the situation where guessing is wrong. You read a question and you have no foothold at all, and 812. You cannot eliminate anything. Every option looks equally plausible or equally unknown. This is a truly blind guess, sitting right at the break-even floor, offering no expected reward for the risk you take. In this case, the smart move is to leave it. There is nothing to gain on average, and a run of these blind guesses can only drag your score down. When you have no information, the penalty is not worth braving. So your guessing rule becomes clean and mechanical, which is exactly what you want under exam pressure when clear thinking is hard. Before guessing, ask one question: can I eliminate some options? If yes, N A2 A2 A2L. If you have narrowed it down and A2 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 guess, because the odds now beat the penalty. If no, A10 to 12. If it is a pure shot in the dark and to A12, leave it and protect your score. You are not being timid, you are betting only when the math is on your side. That single distinction between an informed guess and a blind one will save you more marks than almost anything else. So the takeaway, guess when you can eliminate 2 or 3 options, because narrowing the field to a 50-50 or better makes the reward outweigh the penalty. NA200. That is the educated guess to always take. But when you can eliminate nothing, it is a blind guess at break-even, so leave it and protect your score. Closely related to when to guess is a broader, equally vital skill, knowing when to leave a question entirely and move on. This is about protecting your most precious resource, an A212, time and A212, not just your accuracy. Every paper contains time-sink questions, ones that are hard, long, or low yield, and A212, a calculation-heavy problem that will eat 4 minutes, a convoluted puzzle that resists every approach. The trap is the sunk cost instinct. You have already spent 2 minutes on it, so you feel you must push on to justify that time. But that instinct is exactly backwards. The 2 minutes are gone regardless. The only question is whether to spend more on a single doubtful mark. The strategic move is to recognize a time sink early and walk away, banking the time. Skip the question and spend those saved minutes on 3 or 4 easier questions elsewhere that you can answer quickly and correctly. Think of the trade. One hard, uncertain question might yield a single mark if you are lucky and need 5 minutes doing it, and A212, or those same 5 minutes could back 3 easy questions you are sure of. 3 near certain marks beat 1 doubtful one every time. Leaving the time sink is not giving up, it is reallocating your time to where it earns the most. This is why the best exam takers move through the paper in passes, first reaping up all the quick, confident marks, and only then, with time and clarity, considering the harder ones NA2 and abandoning any that threaten to swallow the clock. Under sectional timing especially, where each section's minutes are strictly limited, protecting your time is protecting your score. So cultivate the discipline to let a question go. The willingness to leave the traps N8200 wall to say N8200 not what it in A 200 200 200, and move on without guilt and A 200 200 200. Guards both your clock and your accuracy at once, and it is a hallmark of every candidate who scores well under pressure. So the takeaway: recognize time sync questions and A212 hard, long, low yield, and A212 and leave them early rather than falling for the sunk cost trap. Because the minutes saved can win 3 easy marks instead of 1 doubtful one. Moving to the paper in passes and abandoning the traps protects both your time and your accuracy, especially under sectional timing. Let us pull everything into a single scoring strategy and 8-1-12. The 3 habits that, together, let you outscore people who know more than you. First, attempt fewer questions with high accuracy, rather than everything with low accuracy. Because of the penalty, a smaller number of attempts that are almost all correct beats a larger number riddled with wrong guesses. Your goal is not maximum attempts, it is maximum net score, and that comes from accuracy. Pick the questions you are confident about, nail them, and do not feel you must fill in every bubble. Quality of attempts, not quantity, is what the penalty rewards. Second, guess only when you have narrowed the options and leave it otherwise. This is the accuracy floor rule made into a habit. An educated guess after eliminating 2 or 3 options is a good bet you should take. A blind guess with nothing eliminated is a break-even gamble you should decline. Let that single test and 8-212. Can I eliminate anything? H112 govern every guessing decision, and you will keep the penalty from ever getting the upper hand. And third, respect each section's clock and skip the time sinks. Pace yourself within every section independently, since you cannot borrow time across them. Now sweep up the easy marks first and walk away from any question that threatens to swallow your minutes, reallocating that time to questions you can actually score. Attempt selectively, guess only with an edge, and manage your time ruthlessly. And 8-1-12. These 3 habits turn the same knowledge into a higher score. Remember the core equation: your result is roughly your attempts multiplied by your accuracy, with the penalty and the clock as the constraints. Play those variables well, and you play the game to win rather than merely answering questions and hoping. So, the takeaway: the scoring strategy is 3 habits and 80-100-fold. Attempt fewer questions with high accuracy rather than everything wildly. Guess only when you have eliminated options and leave it otherwise. And respect each section's clock while skipping time sinks and 82-fall. Because score is essentially attempts times accuracy under the penalty and the clock. So playing those variables well beats simply knowing more. Before we recap, let us see the whole strategy come together in a single, calm run through a section, so it feels real rather than abstract. The timer for your section starts. You do a first pass, moving quickly and answering only the questions you are confident about, and A212, the ones you know cold. You bank those clean, near certain marks fast, spending no time agonizing, and you skip everything doubtful for now, without a second thought. This first sweep is where the bulk of your reliable score comes from, and doing it quickly leaves you time and a clear head for the rest. On your second pass, you revisit the questions you skipped. For each, you ask the 2 questions you have learned. Can I eliminate options? If you can narrow it to 2, you take the educated guess and move on. If it is a total blank, you leave it and A212, no blind gambles. And is this a time sink? If a question is dragging, you let it go and reallocate those minutes to easier ones still unanswered. You are constantly protecting your accuracy and your clock, decision by decision. When the section timer ends, you have done exactly what the maths rewards. Attempted a focused set of questions, most of them right, guessed only where the odds favored you, and refused to let any single hard question devour your time. You move to the next section and reset, running the same disciplined process against its own clock. No panic, no reckless bubbling in the final seconds, no marks quietly bled away to careless guesses. That calm, deliberate process, and 8-212. Confident marks first, informed guesses second, time sinks abandoned. Each section its own contest, and 8-212 is the entire strategy in motion. It is learnable, it is repeatable, and it is what separates the candidates who clear the cutoff from those who knew just as much but played the game poorly. So the takeaway? In practice, you run each section as a calm, disciplined process, and A2112. A fast first pass banking the confident marks, a second pass taking only educated guesses and abandoning time sinks, then reset for the next section's clock, and A21212, attempting a focused, mostly correct set with no reckless guessing, which is the whole strategy in motion and what clears the cutoff. Let us gather the whole class in one breath. Banking prelims are a strategy game. Any A212 score is right answers minus a penalty, so strategy decides, not just knowledge. The penalty is a quarter mark per wrong answer. So 4 wrong answers, erase 1 right, wrong is not free. The accuracy floor, blind guessing on 5 options, breaks even, so your accuracy must clear that floor to make guessing pay. Sectional timing gives each section its own clock, and you cannot borrow time between them. Guess when you have narrowed the options, leave it when you are guessing blind. And leave the time sinks and AT22, skip the hard long questions to protect your time and your accuracy. Next class, any AT112. The number system, the foundation of all quantitative aptitude. One idea at a time. That is the hidden game